In today's episode, Michael asks, what do you think of the prediction that the pendulum is shifting away from active social interactions back to more traditional passive experiences like YouTube as people begin to detox from social media platforms that prompt and expect interactions? This is an interesting question. When you look at the data around social networks and around things like YouTube and stuff, and even traditional television, we're all still competing for the same 6 hours a day, which is about the amount of time that the average person has when they're not working and they're not sleeping. And what's left over is about 6 to 8 hours. And so everybody's competing for that, including your family. But the television, the radio, not the radio, because technically audio, one of the things that Edison Research found in its podcast listening study is that podcasts are a very popular form of media because you can listen to them while you're doing something else. You can listen to them at work, you can listen to them on your commute, etc. The same is true of terrestrial radio. But video in particular, YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of these companies are competing for that same 6 hours a day, roughly, give or take. Is that the way the consumer is behaving? According to YouTube, they have 1.9 billion monthly active users, and they have about 1 billion hours a day consumed on the platform. So if you do the math, people are spending roughly between 30 and 60 hours a day, 30 and 60 minutes a day on YouTube. It's not clear what the exact number is, and they don't tell you in their press kit. But given that's the case, that's still a relatively small fraction of that 6 hours of non-scheduled time that people have. When we look at the numbers around Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all the major social networks, they are still growing. They are still getting share of market. Now, not necessarily in mature markets like North America or Europe, but they're still gathering audience. One thing I think that marketers have to be very careful of is that the marketing audience is not the general audience. And so if you spend, by nature of your work, hours a day on Facebook, and you see within your circle of friends people saying, I'm leaving Facebook, all this stuff that they're doing, know that that's not necessarily representative of the population as a whole. The population as a whole is still on Facebook with 1 billion plus daily active users. People are still spending time on those outlets. Now, what do we see for the way the consumer is behaving? We do see that interest is pivoting towards Instagram. One of the things that in the 2019 Trust Insights forecast, Instagram is looking at a massive year-over-year increase in the number of people who are interested in it, searching for it, and such. And so definitely make sure that when you think about Michael's question about the passive interactions, Facebook really does focus on those active interactions, whereas Instagram, you can just double tap a photo and then scroll on into your feed. Instagram itself is a more passive interaction network in a lot of ways. So you're just consuming images and videos of the stuff that you like. So knowing that interest is going there is important. The other thing we're seeing interest in messaging applications skyrocket. We're talking about Facebook's Messenger, WhatsApp, WeChat, Kik, Line, Tango, iMessages, SMS messages. People are having conversations out of the public eye, in part because the public discussion forums like Facebook's core platform have gotten so toxic, and in part because people want to talk to their friends. And so building a robust messaging experience is going to be important because that's how people are changing their behaviors. You will probably want to look at building a chatbot experience that is a multi-platform experience for your marketing properties that allows you to get permission for people in the application, the chat application of their preference, like WhatsApp, like text messages, like Facebook Messenger, and so on and so forth. Some of the platforms to look at would be platforms like Snap Engage, which is a sponsor of Marketing Over Coffee, full disclosure, Mobile Monkey, Chatfuel. All of these companies have multi-platform capabilities that allow you to get permission to message consumers, because you want to build that database. If consumers and their behavior has pivoted to messaging, you need to make sure that you have permission and access to them. The other thing is, when you look at the way Michael's prediction about passive experiences is leaning, that also includes your owned media properties. So that means things like your website, making sure that you invest some time there. A lot of people for the last 5 years have really let their own media properties atrophy, and were surprised when last year, and actually I think it was technically in 2017 was the pivot point, social media stopped sending as much traffic to your website. Instead, it became search again, because Facebook and Twitter and all these networks, because they're so adamant about trying to keep you on their network, they were making it more and more difficult for marketers to get traffic out of those networks. And so search became the thing again. Well, of course, that means that you need to have a thing that's worth searching for. So make sure that you're investing the time there. But I absolutely agree that you should have a strategy towards some of those passive experiences. The third and final thing is that you need to look at some of the niche networks for your vertical and for the way your consumers behave. And consumer, by the way, means your customer, B2B, B2C, whatever, it doesn't matter. We see networks like Twitch, for example. We see networks like Discord and Slack becoming much more popular, private social networks where you can't see any analytics about them, but you need to be where your customers are. And the only way you'll figure that out is actually ask them. So send out a survey or an email to your customer database and say, hey, where do you guys spend your time? Where do you spend your time online? And then if you see a substantial number of people like, yeah, I'm on Slack all day, or I'm on Discord all day, or whatever, you need to spend some time there and get to know it and build a presence, just like you did in the early days of Facebook or Twitter. So there's a lot more for marketers to tackle. I don't think active social interactions are going away. I do think they're going private. I truly believe that people are tired of having trolls commenting on every Facebook status post, and so friends only has become sort of the default status. And really, the only network that is left that you can get any decent analytics into, well, like the two maybe are Twitter and Reddit. And be careful as you get data out of those, because each network has its own bias. So just know that. One last thing I would say on that front, in 2019, get really good at surveying, get really good at market research. If you're not really good at it, hire a decent market research firm. Edison Research is one that I look at because they do it right. Because as we lose data from these networks, either because the consumer moves or because the network moves and reduces access, you will have to resort to asking people. And you'll have to resort to asking people in a representative way, and market research firms are really good at that. So some commentary there from Michael. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel in case you want those passive experiences, and to the newsletter, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.